Well, it was a different era then, and what I thought was hard, it was easy now. You know, it would have been easy, but we were brought up differently, and school systems were different, especially the first, your public schooling was a little different than it is now. And in high school, it's about the same, I guess. We moved to Wilson in NDG, and I went to Gilson School there to finish my schooling. And then from there, I'd been to a couple other schools. Then I went to work and went to work for Federal Aircraft in the office in engineering. I wasn't an engineer, but I do all the work they needed to be done for filing and getting different books out for them and all that. I was about 16 and a half then, I guess. Since I was about a year old, they bought a home in St. Chrysostom, and we used it as a summer place. And about when I was about 16, I guess they made it for you could live all year around if you wanted to live. The house was all oil lamps, and we had no drinking water out of taps till we put it in years later, a few years later. We had an outside cookhouse, and all the cooking could be done not in the house, in our cookhouse. We had a cookhouse. Our washrooms at that time were outside too. Then we got, years later, we put washrooms in the house. Then we rebuilt the house after the old one burnt down. We were burning rubbish at the river, and it was a wood shingled roof, and the wind must have carried it, started the roof on fire, and we didn't know we were all down at the river, and the roof was aflame. We went and got a hose and all that, but it was too late. It got in, and well, I guess the wood was so dry and all just ran all over the house very fast. So then we built a new house. Well, I went away in the Navy in 43, got out in 46. I was on a minesweeper, and we swept for the invasion of France. First experience was I never been in sailing on the Atlantic at that time. That was the first trip, and we ran into hurricanes and everything. It took us about 2 weeks to cross. The storm was so bad we ended up in the Azores, and we had a refuel there. We had no refuel, and we had some repairs from the big storm we were in. And there were 6 ships, 6 sweepers. We went over together to England. We were swept for the Americans. We landed the Americans at Omaha Beach, and we landed them at Brest, too. We had another invasion at Brest. That's where all the submarine pens were, and the plant went to help the soldiers who needed support inside, and to get more troops farther down, that they didn't, to make another battleground, confuse the opposition. And we did that a few times. We'd send soldiers in there, so it had the enemy sort of confused. They had all their men at a certain place, and we'd have to change the place to help the Canadians because they were well fortified. We start below where they weren't well fortified. They had no opposition. We can get in, go miles with our troops, so that I think that's how we actually won the war. Well, I worked for a construction company. They sent me out of town to do different jobs, and I learned that way in the construction business. And then I moved back to Montreal, and I was only supposed to be there a few weeks, and Mr. Stewart, that was the one that come and asked me to join him at Macdonald Tobacco, but to work for him privately. And the men all worked in the factory that we needed in the factory. So the factory was run by others after that. They send me all over the world, like I was experiencing all that. I never thought I'd be able to do it, but I did it, and he was satisfied. We achieved all what we had to achieve, and he is a great believer in helping society and giving his money back to society and giving to schools like McGill and hospitals and French hospitals, English hospitals. They're all given a part of the pie we made. We try to restore history on St. Helens Island with the regiments that fought on the Plains of Abraham, the English regiment, the French regiment, and try to make history a little better. No politics involved, it was all serious. Got a big problem. No, I really haven't thought about it, but it'll be a hard life for them because they were brought up differently in their life than we were. Everything was, I think, a little easier in our time than your times. They'll contradict me on that, but I think I had a better chance to go somewhere than they do today. It's a different world now.
Duncan, I'd like to thank you very much for this interview, and we'll continue this in the future, for sure.
Anyway, I hope I did okay.